Welcome. I'm glad you've chosen to watch this webinar on personal branding. As the world of work continues to change, bringing with it challenges and opportunities, one thing that remains true is that everything you do creates an image of you. You leave an impression. You send a message about what you stand for, what matters to you, whether that's in person or in virtual environments. Through this webinar, I want you to think about yourself as your own contained business that gets hired to do a job or many jobs. You Incorporated. Like any company, you have the ability to complete tasks using skills that you've developed, and like a company, how you complete those tasks allows others to get to know what your professional message is, what your personal brand is. Today, we're going to investigate the concept of a personal brand a little further. What exactly it is, why it's important to consider developing your brand, and how to showcase yours. My name is Trisha Grace, and I work on the Alumni Relations team to help graduates be more successful in their careers once they've graduated from George Brown College. I also help build relationships and partnerships with employers and establish connections that lead to the hiring of our grads. Feel free to connect with me either on LinkedIn, or if you have any questions, you can reach out to me via my email, which I've got on the slide. So today's webinar is going to focus mainly on your online exposure of your brand. So we're going to look at that, at your brand from the perspective of how you present yourself online. First, as a job seeker, we'll take a look at who is looking at you online and what they can see. Then I'll present some of the mistakes that are typically made online and what to avoid. Then I'll introduce what you should try to achieve through online social media platforms. And lastly, I'll talk about the power of a personal brand and how it's something that should continually get attention throughout your working life. So online presence, really that means the information about a particular person that exists on the internet as a result of their online activity. Nowadays, it's pretty much a given that employers are viewing you on a multitude of platforms. Many will look at Twitter and Facebook to see how you present yourself outside of the more professional, curated LinkedIn profile presented to employers. According to a couple of surveys conducted by Career Builder and Repler, they're two companies that engage in employment research, employers, hiring managers, and recruiters will do an internet search for you at different stages of the hiring process. So about 47% say that they will search for you after receiving an application. 27% after a detailed conversation with the prospective employee, they'll then go online and search for that person. 11% said the last stage, just before the job offer, they'll go in and take a look at the candidate online. And 15% don't use social media sites like Twitter and Facebook to screen. It may mean, though, they still go on to LinkedIn, for example. So if approximately 89% of those in positions to hire are using social media sites to screen candidates, then what is it they are looking for? And probably it's any reasons not to hire you. And I say that because the numbers of resumes that arrive these days in the inbox of a company posting a job, elimination is usually the process that leads to the best candidates. So those hiring are looking for red flags regarding behaviors, online persona, what others might be saying about you, and additional information about job qualifications. And 57% of hiring managers found content that led to the removal of a potential candidate. So although it can be a bit of a minefield out there trying to remember what you've posted and where, having a presence on social media platforms is absolutely necessary to launch your career and keep it moving forward. Nearly half the HR professionals surveyed by CareerBuilder claim they are less likely to screen a candidate if they cannot find them online. 1 in 5 employers expect job candidates to have some kind of online presence. So it's awfully important to ensure that you can be found online. So according to CareerBuilder's survey of more than 2,000 of those in a position to hire, there are different online activities that can remove a candidate in the hiring process. These points are in order according to what employers deem to be most important to less important. Inappropriate photos or videos, drinking or drug use, discriminatory comments related to race, gender, religion, or sexuality, information linked to criminal behavior, lying about qualifications, poor communication skills, bad-mouthing employer or fellow employees, having an unprofessional screen name, sharing confidential company information, and posting frequently on social media. And that last one, you might wonder, why would that be a big issue? And I think that employers feel that if you're on social media a lot, you might take those work habits or those habits to the workplace and be spending quite a bit of time on social media when you should be working. So there are social media pleasers, the things that really please employers, and these are in order of what employers stated as most important to less important. So these are the things that make a big difference. Information supporting candidates' qualifications, candidates' creativity, convey a professional image, demonstrates a wide range of interests, company culture match, demonstrating great communication skills, awards and accolades, references from others, interaction with company's social media, compelling video content, large number of followers. So these can really be appealing to an employer. In addition to employers searching your social media presence, they also might do a background check, which may include a criminal background check depending on the nature of the role you're applying for. So if you're working with children or vulnerable communities, then they'll probably do a criminal background check. Also, as a current employee, anytime during your time with a company, an employer can run an internet social media usage investigation on the company's server if they suspect you're not spending the majority of your time on your work tasks. So just something to keep in mind. So just for fun, you can pause now or you can do it after the presentation. If you haven't already, open Google and enter your name and see what comes up under all, and also check images. I work with a lot of graduates, and I once worked with a grad who was having real difficulty getting hired, and we couldn't figure it out. And then I went on, just Googled his name, and I looked under images, and there were some images that I guess if an employer saw them, might have affected their decision to hire. So always check to see if there's any compromising pictures. Sometimes you're tagged and you don't even know those pictures might be up somewhere. So always check that. So we're probably pretty familiar with the notion of product branding, but people too present a collection of perceptions in the minds of those they encounter. Brands are born basically of others' experience of a product and reflect reputation, and individuals market themselves all the time as well, in every encounter, both at work and socially. We constantly announce to others our value proposition. Companies have become so good at branding that a name, a term, design, or a symbol, or any other feature that identifies one seller's goods or services as distinct from another's. Seeing a symbol or logo, or hearing a jingle, hearing a name immediately conjures up a mental impression of that product or company. A brand can distinguish one product or company from another, or one person from another. Our choice of one product over another is based on how we perceive that product. It distinguishes an organization or product from its rivals in the eye of the consumer. So who are you and what are you known for? If you aren't branding yourself, you can be sure that others are doing it for you. I read this somewhere and I thought this is incredibly true. Everyone leaves an impression when they meet others, either in person or virtually. There is rarely a neutral response. So how do others see you? Open, distant, polished, casual, friendly, shy, serious or frivolous, confident, humble, assertive, accommodating, experienced, inexperienced, curious, uninterested, supportive or dependent, positive or negative, energetic, contained, accountable, or shirker. Ask others about how they see you. Find people you trust and get valuable feedback about your current brand. This might sound really scary, but better to know than not to know. Ask them what words come to mind when they think of you. What do they think you do really well? What are your standout unique features? And what do they think are some areas of development and growth? And again, it's got to be people that you trust for truth, for kindness, and would be giving this feedback because they really want you to do well. So find the right people, but sometimes we need to see ourselves through others' eyes to really understand how we come across. So what do you want to be known for? You know, if you want right now, you could pause the webinar or you can wait till the end, but take a few minutes to think about that question and write down a selection of descriptors or adjectives that you would like others to describe you as, that reflect how you see yourself and how you want to be seen. How do you expect to feel when you buy a product or a certain brand? Brands evoke an emotional response to what they stand for, the values they represent. What do you expect from that product or service when you see it? So for example, a Starbucks as opposed to Tim Horton coffee. The Keg Steakhouse as opposed to McDonald's. Whole Foods as opposed to Metro. Chanel as opposed to Joe Fresh. Each business is established through a set of values that they have determined and then projected out to consumers. And as a consumer, you have expectations of a particular brand when you then see that logo or hear the name of a company. It's the same with people. What are some adjectives that spring to mind when you think of Oprah Winfrey? And I was, when I was putting this together, I was thinking about that, and I'll just share mine. So I thought Oprah Winfrey, she's intelligent. I see her personable, empathetic, she's well-read and ambitious. Those are the terms that spring to mind when I see her or hear her name. How about Steve Jobs? Innovative thinker, futuristic, risk taker. How about Grumpy the cat? I thought, well, look at his face. So angry, pessimistic, unfriendly, whiner. How about Krista Freeland? When I think of her, I immediately think of competent, smart, organized, confident, and calm. So all four of these individuals have established a reputation, and we have developed a perception in our minds of a value of expectation. We associate positive or negative feelings and thoughts with that individual, just as we might with a company brand. Everything you do ultimately contributes to your personal brand and allows you to articulate and leverage your unique value proposition. Your brand is made up of a number of things, including image, style, expertise, and exposure. And as a job seeker, having areas of expertise is crucial, but just as important is the way you deliver that expertise. So what you wear, how you present yourself publicly matters. How you speak about what you know matters. Are you thoughtful, enthusiastic, energized, and energizing when it comes to the work you do or want to do? Do you approach your work in a collaborative way? Do you envision every day as a day to learn something new? Are you excited about what you have to offer and about the work you can do? Are you providing insights on subjects you understand through different channels like LinkedIn, in groups that you've joined on LinkedIn, through association posts? So are you sharing what you know? And in the excitement of what you know, are you letting others in on that vision of the work that you do? Exposure is going to draw people to have a closer look at you because you're engaged within your field. And that's appealing to people in general and specifically really appealing to employers. So what is your first impression? Your first impression. According to scientific study, a person starts to form an impression of another person within less than 1/10 of a second of meeting or seeing them, which is incredible. In that time, a person is defined as being trustworthy or not, competent or not, intelligent or not, introverted or extroverted, dominant or submissive, and a few other characteristics. And right or wrong, it's what we first read about a person. And then as we get to know someone more deeply, we discover whether that first impression was accurate or not. So it really is a very quick response to that first impression. Your style says one thing about you and your expertise says another. So what do people that work with you or went to school with you perceive as your work style? Are you an asset on a team, sharing ideas, taking on responsibilities, and getting things done? How do you communicate with others? Are you thoughtful when you speak? Are you a good listener as well? Are you optimistic or pessimistic when you speak? Are you able to take the lead? And when you do, are you someone who encourages others and celebrates their victories and successes? As you develop a networking plan to connect with others, think about who you worked with or went to school with and those that would be happy to work with you again or would be really comfortable referring you for job opportunities. Whenever you take on work or responsibilities, no matter how big or small the ask, do it well and the credits will follow. People will see what sets you apart from the others. Then you can ask for recommendations for your LinkedIn, for example, for further exposure of your reputation. So why is it important to enhance your brand? Take a step back and consider where you want your career to go. Give it a lot of thought. And then think about what is the gap from the current situation to the desired place you want to be. What can be done to close the gap and build a brand that truly reflects who you are? And then promote your brand strategically to decision makers, connections who have insights and/or supporters. So think about, are there any skills that you're missing given what you want to do in your future? Do you need to consider further professional development? Are there soft skills that you need to develop, and how can you manage that enhancement? What sort of opportunities are available to you? For example, if you see yourself moving into a role of leadership, are you taking on activities that allow you to develop that muscle? Whether it's getting onto committees at the workplace or in your free time, being part of community projects. Recognize opportunities that will help you to showcase your value proposition to an employee and then jump on them. Share your vision of what you want to achieve in your career with those that can help you to achieve your goals. This will also define your brand as someone who has a strategy, seeks growth opportunities, communicates ideas, and works hard to achieve success. That is a pretty good brand statement. Exposure of your brand is really, really important when you are job searching, especially. So think about how you can manage your online exposure. Are your social media accounts consistent with the brand you're trying to convey? I want to address something that I know people feel when they think about branding. And there's this notion that a brand and the whole marketing aspect of things means that you have to put on a persona, fake it to some degree, brag about how awesome you are. But actually, being true to who you are is essential. It's about defining what you stand for and then strategically showcasing that to your audience. If you're looking for a job, an employer needs to see what value you can offer them. You need to be visible. And you have permission to tell others the great things you've achieved and what a great employee or teammate you'd be. Reflect on your core values, your beliefs, your interests, and strengths. Define your value proposition. So what have you got to offer? What makes you unique and valuable to an employer? And be authentic. Contemplate what is important to you. What principles guide you in life? What excites you about the work you do? When have you been recognized for the work you've done? Have you received awards? What are you really, really good at? What certificates and training have you pursued to make you stronger in your areas of interest? And then update your profile on LinkedIn so others get a sense of who you are and what you stand for. Your personal brand should always represent your unique qualities, not what you think other people want to hear or see. Stay humble. So the bragging doesn't, the bragging has to be, bragging is a weird word and it has to be controlled. Stay humble but confident in what you have to offer. And be sensitive to how you share your accomplishments. Give credit to those that helped you in attaining those accomplishments. So you need to keep in mind your brand vision. So what do you want to be known for? Your brand mission. What do you want to accomplish? What's your purpose? Your brand message. What is the key message you want to communicate consistently and reinforce? Your brand personality. What personal traits or characteristics do you want to weave throughout your brand? You're serious or fun, leader, collaborator, polished, tech savvy, music lover, foodie, gamer. What is it in your case? And then weave it through. Adding a little personality is very important in developing your brand. So here's an example of a profile on LinkedIn. And it's, so what's your first impression? This is Eliza Edelstein. What's your first impression of Eliza? What are some techniques she's used to brand herself? What's her vision, mission, message, and personality when you read through her profile? So look at how Eliza has used color and imaging to introduce herself. The photo looks professionally shot, her photo. She's incorporated an image and a color that pops out as her banner image behind her face. And it's an active picture where something is happening, which gives a sense of motion and energy. If you get a chance, either now, pause, or after the workshop, read her profile. She demonstrates her ability to communicate with an honest, fun approach. She talks about her work and why she loves it. She speaks about her activities outside of work and how she gives back to the community, and in this case, supporting women in technology. And she also shares something personal about her love of ice cream. Some of the words that stand out in her profile when you read it, for me at a quick glance, was fascinate, optimize, future growth, fun, influence. Words that have a certain energy build a positive image. So consider the energy in the words that you use to describe yourself. So to wrap up, remember to do certain things. Be authentic, present your value, position yourself for future opportunities. So giving some thought to where you want to go. Distinguish yourself, convey a professional image. And avoid these other things. So not being consistent, not using visuals or colors in how you present yourself online, not thinking about tone of communication, so the words that you use, not continuing to build your brand, and not knowing your value proposition. So those are the things to keep in mind around branding. So thank you for joining me, and feel free to reach out to the Alumni Relations Office if you have any questions or are looking to discover more about what you can access as a graduate of the college. alumni@georgebrown.ca is what you want to email, and you'll get a quick response back. Stay tuned for more informative webinars to successfully get you and keep you on your career path. Bye for now.